Washington Irving was known as one of the first American writers. He was born on the 3rd of April 1783 and he lived in New York. His father was Scottish, instead his mother was English. He started writing at early age. He wrote with his brother a book of satirical sketch about New York society. He died in 1859 and he was buried exactly in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in New York. His most famous storytelling surely is the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Irving was endowed with a colorful creativity and a remarkable elegance in writing. It has been considered as one of the founding fathers of American literature.
The story takes place in 1787 in a Dutch city called Sleepy Hollow, which is near Tarrytown, New York. The valley is constantly surrounded by mystery and a lot of legends take place there, including that of the Headless Horseman. The legend tells that during an unknown battle of the American Independence War, a fierce knight was shot and he lost his head. Since that day, he kept looking for his head near the Dutch cemetery and church. Until he will not find again his head, he will continue to decapitate whoever he meets in its way. The main character, a slender and timorous school teacher by the name of Ichabod Crane, comes to town from Connecticut and he is beloved by everyone except for a local by the name of Abram Van Brunt. They are both in love with a woman named Katrina, the daughter of Van Tassel, the most influential person of Sleepy Hollow. Tassel family organizes an All Hallows Eve party and Crane is invited to attend it. He is told some scary stories, such as the Headless Horseman legend. When he is coming back home, he meets the knight who's starting to run after him, and then hits him to the head. The day after, rescuers only find his cap and near a pumpkin, presumably the head of the horseman. Since that moment, Crane mysteriously disappears without leaving any trace. Many years after, a farmer that known him will affirm to have met Crane in New York, became a successful man. The ending seems to suggest that some inhabitants suspect of an involvement of Brom in the Headless Horseman deal, maybe to scare Crane that he also could have walked away for other reasons. At the end of the story, after the terrible experience with the Headless Horseman, Ichabod Crane obtains his social redeeming, going through from being a timorous school teacher to a charismatic successful man in city. Based on the assumption that have been succeed several cinematographic adjustments, surely the most famous film has been that of 1999, directed by the legendary Tim Burton, and entitled The Mystery of Sleepy Hollow. The basic differences between literary work and film are certainly in the respective plots. Indeed, while in the book Crane is described as a strange school teacher, in the film he acts like an agent of New York that is sent to resolve 3 cases about decapitated people. In fact, the village will see him as a salvation. While in the original work the main character will only meet once a horseman, in the film the agent Crane will unravel the mystery, which is that the Headless Horseman is moved by a real person that uses him to revenge about past injuries to her and her family. While in the book the love story between Katrina and Ichabod have no following, in the film the young woman moves to New York with him, after have resolved the deal with the Headless Horseman and have restored peace in Sleepy Hollow. Therefore, there is a happy ending differently from the original work that led us a little perplexed about the reason of what have really made Getaway Crane from Sleepy Hollow. In the other words, the infallible Gothic Burton humor is a perfect combination with Irving's story that maybe lacks of these elements, even if he has been the first person to experience the ghost story genre. Among the covered topics, it is possible to notice the contrast between the supernatural, the legend, and the history. Irving describes a diverse 16th century society, made up humble characters such as Crane, selfish riches as the Van Tassel, or bully and hypocrites as Bro Browns. Each character upholds its ideals, but not always these come true. like the Ichabod's love for Katrina, in which the only thing to triumph is money. Indeed, Crane becomes rich and ends up to adjust himself to the general preference to socially redeeming, and the status that descends from it. Other topic is that of suggestion. By dint of telling and infusing legends, the inhabitants too, even if denying it at the first moment, end up to let overwhelm themselves from mystery and fear of death. Therefore, the concern for the horseman ghost come into the more skeptical too. Finally, the overthrow of social stratification. Crane, passing from a humble school teacher, will become a successful political man very rich. As I already said, this work has a remarkable literary importance because it is the first of many ghost storytelling. I admit my insane love for ghost stories, mystery, and everything is about Gothic. Therefore, who better director than Tim Burton? He can keep its humor despite of the horror background, and thanks to his direction, he gave a soul to Irving's imagination, who had created one of the most diffused genres in the world a lot of centuries ago. Reading the original work and looking at the cinematographic adaptation, it's easy to understand how much Barton made more interesting the story with the conspiration among the most known characters in town, or the several elements of mystery, such as the fog that creates every time the Headless Horseman appears, or again the Tree of Death that marks the passage between life and hell, and it's exactly where the knight was buried. Finally, he simplified everything, introducing an happy ending and the death of all bad characters. Instead, Irving seems to be wanting to leave the reader on pins and needles without revealing why Crane walked away and why he renounced to his big love to go to New York. Despite the absence of a clear ending in his story, Irving was very great in describing in a detailed way the dark, isolated, and surrounded by mystery Sleepy Hollow Valley, where the inhabitants, even if divided in superstitious and skeptical, in the end will all believe in the legend of the Headless Horseman.